It's Tuesday. It's Reviews Day. Let's take a look at what we have this time. This one's a little bit different than normal. This is a Kickstarter that's coming up for a 5e compatible expansion on races, subclasses, and more. At the surface level, it seemed like the pretty standard book that you're seeing coming out fairly often. However, this one dives into a different aspect that I just personally haven't seen. And when the team over at RP Craft Publishing sent out a demo version of this to me called The Book of Conflicts, Beutal Races, I took a glance at it. A handful of things caught my eye. This is all about orcs. It's the monstrous races, some of the things that you saw in Volos that were, quite frankly, kind of unplayable at the time. This expanded onto them, though, that made it more playable. What I am a little bit hesitant and leery on is sometimes when you do this, they make them overpowered or not fun for the rest of the group, because a lot of the homebrew is just too much. So right now I haven't really had too much time to play test these, and I've got limited information, and I don't know how powerful they are. However, let's take a look and see what we have at the book. As you see here, the Book of Conflicts, Beutal Races comes with 10 unique half-orc variants. That right there I thought was a pretty cool aspect to it, and we'll dive a little bit more into. Outside of that is kind of the standard, so there's new classes, new subclasses, magic items, unique monsters, and then of course the physical goods with it, the books, the dice, and some pretty cool looking minis. While this has races like the godlike, where it's half elf, half orc, this right here is a lanky, half orc, half goblin. It has some really cool, interesting mechanics to it. When it makes a sleight of hand or an acrobatics check, it can add an extra 5 feet to it due to the length of its arms. It's pretty interesting, and I'd really like to see how something like this plays out in game without, again, getting too overpowered. And then the book adds in this completely new feature that I've never seen before, Uncanny Grub. Has some pretty interesting things like Sludgy Worm, where when you eat it, you get an extra hit point, but if you eat too many of them, there's a chance that you'll start vomiting it all up. It's just too repulsive for non-Beutal races to eat. Very cool, interesting new aspect, something that's specific to the Beutal races in here, and it has a drawback along with the benefit. That is really cool to see. They also introduced this idea of the group background. The explanation of it and the reason for it I thought was really sound. It gets rid of that awkward occurrence for that first 1 or 2 games where everybody's getting to know each other. It brings them together for a common purpose. The drawback of this is it kind of seemed to pigeonhole the people on some of the examples that it gave, where it's saying this person is this role and this is that role. It looks like it'll work, but I don't know how limiting this will actually end up being. And another interesting new idea that I haven't really seen in many books, they call this a blood hunt. This is basically a group of villagers that are coming after the monster. It has a lot of random tables as to what they are, why they're after you, what's the end goal that they have, and then a random table too to say, are they classes, what level are they, and builds the structure of this blood hunt. Pretty interested to see how that one will play out. Now the blood hunt I feel is going to be very tasking for the DM. It gave you a guideline, but you're building a group of players. Basically, you're building another party. I've done this before. I've had a lot of fun with it, but I haven't added in the randomized table of why they're after them, what triggers them, different motives that they have. That was a pretty cool aspect to it, but I enjoy character creation, so that was really fun to me. But if you're a DM that's looking for the templates for quick and easy to go, that part of it's probably not going to be for you unless you use a different source book to give you like the monks, the different martial classes, to really build and grow onto that. The last thing in this book that I thought was one of the funnest concepts I've seen is basically 3 kobolds in a trench coat. It's a class, not even a subclass, but just a whole new class, and it's called the Pack. You play up to 3 small characters, each one of them individually very weak, but as they get together, they're as powerful as a normal character would be. I really want to see how this one plays out. I didn't get a lot of specifics on this one, and that is the one that most interests me. Now, the people over at RP Craft Publishing, they're not paying me for this in any way. I want to make that part pretty clear. But even if they were, I'm going to be brutally honest. They sent me a demo booklet of what's going to be in there, so I had some insight as to what some of them are going to be, some of the stat bumps, the ability modifiers, what some of the spells might be. A lot of that really, it wasn't standing out anything special or particular to it. And if that's what it was, I was going to completely overglance it and just, it wasn't really worth it. But it came down to the things like the Blood Hunt, the Pack new class, some of the half-orc variants, specifically the Lanky, and things like the Uncanny Grub. I thought those were really cool. Personally, I would have liked to have seen those as like just a $5 option or a Patreon to get something like the Uncanny Grub. If you haven't checked me out over on my other social medias yet, you can run over to TikTok at abuchananas_nomio dilbo or over at Instagram, abuchananas_tabletop. I'll have more updates, quick little videos, and things of that nature. And until next time, abuchananas!